Good morning and welcome to Political Circle on Signature Television. Just recently in Accra, Ghana, former President Goodluck Jonathan described electoral manipulation as one of the greatest threats to democracy in Africa. He said that when democracy fails to meet citizens' expectations, desperation can create openings for authoritarianism. Therefore, any leader who fails to perform should be voted out of office. In his words, democracy in Africa is going through a period of strain and risks collapse unless stakeholders come together to rethink and reform it, arguing that electoral manipulations is increasingly becoming the biggest threat to democracy in Africa. That's our story today. Our topic is democracy and the consequences of electoral manipulations. I am Luke Mbo, and joining me is Dr. Ambrose Ibuke, Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts in Enugu State. Dr. Ibuke, you're welcome to Political
Thank you. Good morning. This is my baptism, my first time here.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Interesting. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get started. Let us understand the term democracy.
Well, democracy is a system of government where the political leaders are voted into office, basically through the ballot of the majority. So there are different versions of it all over the world. People are being able to craft different versions, the parliamentarian system, the presidential system. Even among those, like in America, there's a unique part of it. Some are simple majority, some are two-thirds majority, straight voting. But like in America, where they have the mass voting, and they also have the electoral college. So people have been able to craft this democratic, ecosystem to fit their own peculiarities over the years. As Abraham Lincoln would say, the popular one, that it's a government, contrived to serve the people, and it is a people at the epicenter because it's for the people, it's by the people. But recently, it's very clear that Abraham Lincoln's perception of over 200 years have been faded because it looks like the elites have hijacked it, and the people just have their say, but they may not have their way. But in all, for the current political systems and experiments in the world, I think democracy is still the #1 option available.
Because it involves the people.
Yes, the people make the decisions to put their leaders there. However they make that decision is left for different interpretations. But for now, the people, kind of come together. Some is a facade in some places, some is a catharsis, some is antithesis. But in all, the people are involved. And the leaders, why the leaders come out to, despite whether they are despotic in nature, what kind of power they have, when they come, when it's time for election, they still come back to the people. That means in democracy, the people matter.
Yes, but Goodluck Jonathan is raising an issue. There is a threat to democracy in Africa, and that threat is electoral manipulations. Let us understand, when we say electoral manipulation, what do we mean?
Well, the way democracies are structured is that there's a term for every elected public officer. So you have a term, and then most democracies have opportunities to have a second term if you do well. So most of them say maximum of 2 terms. The terms differ in terms of years. Some have 6 years, some have 5 years, some have 4 years, like what we have in Nigeria. What happens is that it's supposed to be a transparent process. It's supposed to be a credible process, where the structures and machineries that were supposed to have prepared for the elections come. And so there's always a preparatory period where political office seekers go to the public, go to the citizens to tell them about their programs, the time of campaigns. They come with their manifestos. Some societies, they do debates to make sure that people understand the themes of what each person is coming with. Some, they do town hall meetings, all kinds of engagements with civil society, with civil religious group, all kinds of lobby groups and the rest. This is to basically broaden the discussion and the theme for discussions and all those things. So these things are there. Why these things are done? Then many countries have what they call the electoral umpires, or the electoral institution, the body that conducts election. In most countries, are supposed to be independent, but in many African countries, for example, they are not independent. They are still tied to the ruling party or the executive in power because they fund them. But in advanced countries, they have been able to have a lot of independence because the funding does not even come as a largesse or a kind of gift from the executive. So that is taken care of. That is why they seem to be more credible in the Western Hemisphere than here in Africa, where the sitting governments still fund them. So because of that, and most of the political parties are now funded from the money bags in the system, rather than, in the 60s, I met a very old woman when I was in Lagos, who was in her 80s, and she was telling me how Action Group was being funded then in the 60s, which was a political opposition party in the parliament. Like every month, they pay their party levy, okay, a fee of like, that time they say is how many shillings, so you pay. And, just imagine a political party that have like 10 million members, and we are paying, let's say, 100 naira or 1,000 naira or 200 naira every month across the country. Just do the math and see how it comes out. So it will be able to drive the party, fund the party. But something happened to us from 1979 when we had the Second Republic. We jettisoned those paths, and what we started having was individuals funding parties. That escalated in 1999 when the Fourth Republic came back, and then also we have. So the money back started dictating. So the first nucleus of test for transparent democracy is the primaries of the political party. That was lost. Immediately we lost that, where the money bags dictated, where the party was no longer supreme. Because in a country like Nigeria and most African countries, we don't have independent candidates. Every political aspiration has to go through a system called the political parties. And these political parties do what they call primaries. So at the end of the day, you find that it's not actually the people who are voting their leaders in their national and state level or regional levels. It is what the party brings out. So the people have no choice in actually bringing a candidate in the African structure.
A kind of cabal.
There's even a kind of closeted system where the people are not even allowed to have a say. It's only party members. So if you are not a party member, I'm not a party member, and majority of people are not party members, then you don't even have a say, because it's from the political party that they throw up candidates. It is other political life, they have aspirants. Then the political party validates them as candidates during their primaries, where a lot of people don't have access to. A lot of the majority of the citizens don't have access to that. And it is those people that throw up from the primaries that are not being in the ballot box. And in the case of Nigeria, individuals are not even in the ballot box. It is the party. So you don't even vote for individuals. You vote for a political party in Nigeria. So that has kind of complicated the system, where individuals now go for party capture. So they capture the party for their own personal gains, dictates what's happening in the party. And once they get the party, it translates to, getting the whole country. And then all kinds of shades of manipulations. Then manipulation also comes in the sense that where you purposely differentiate some people who may have the capacity to lead but are not financially stable, like what we see in Nigeria, where party funds for the presidential candidates is as much. Some political parties sold it for 120 million naira, 100 million naira. That was in 2023. Some people are selling governorship funds for 60 million, senators and all those things. So if somebody who genuinely credible person wants to serve, and where will he get that kind of money? So you see the money bags that will fund that kind of thing. And they have a kind of repayment system that you must investment.
Let's talk about INEC. They answer independent electoral commission. How independent are they? Are they part of these manipulations?
Well, the Nigerian system, from the days of FEDECO, from the days of what was Wosu's own? I've forgotten the name. It's Answers then, and then we started having independent electoral commission. It's funny that why would we need to put independence if we have nothing to
show for it?
No, if we have nothing to try to make the world believe, because I don't know why you should call it independence if it is truly independent. So I think it's just to validate the crass manipulations that happen behind the door. That is, oh, we are independent. It's really in our name, but you cannot be independent if you are funded by, and there are three arms of government: the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. If one arm of the government is funding you, the two others, the two other arms, the legislature and the executive, come through elections. The third arm, the judiciary, don't come through elections. Now, you now have the executive that come through election funding a supposedly umpire that is supposed to be the umpire for an election context. So what do you see? We already see that there is already bias, because if that executive ruling class wants to starve the Independent Electoral Commission, they have the capacity to. If they want to fund it, they have the capacity to. If they want to manipulate it through slush funding and monetary inducement and all kinds of inducement, they have the capacity. So when you have the powers on the hands of the executive and the hands of the ruling class, and then you now want to say that the Independent Electoral Commission, it cannot be independent. And that is why we keep on having issues about electoral credibility in Nigeria. The one we had in 2023 was very, very peculiar, where the chairman, the national chairman of the Electoral Commission, came to tell the Nigerians that they have all the technology, they have everything ready, and then that they will transmit it online real time, so that to be able to make sure that we don't have manipulations. And they just did a turnaround without explanation to anybody. So there are technologies.
With all the money budgeted.
There are technologies that everything to make sure that we have credible election. But because of the individuals involved who want to manipulate the system, so they start from all cadre, from the electoral empire to the party primaries, to even those who will head the party executive, everything is manipulated. Then on the day of the election itself, they go to the crudest level of the primordial level of manipulation by dishing out inducements in terms of wrapper, in terms of food, in terms of money, cash, in terms of all kinds of things to the voters, even on the queue. So that is how bad the African system has come to be. Till today, they have refused to do voting that is online voting, because that one will drop online rate time. So they are afraid of. So everything that is possible to make sure electoral system is free, African leaders have found a way to suppress it and make it not work.
Are there consequences for this trend for electoral manipulations in Africa?
Well, the consequences are very obvious. Failed leadership, because at that point, when you get elected, you are not elected through the mandate of the people, but through manipulations of your party, through the monies you have dished out, through the size of the money bag of your godfather. Then when you come, your mandate is not to serve the people. Your mandate is to serve those that put you in power. We see that all playing out. And then also we see manipulations from the Western influence when it comes to the presidential level. So why Africa has been a pariah continent, there are no developments. We have up to over 50 currencies in Africa and 50 passports. We have land borders covering our country. Meanwhile, over 30 countries in Europe have been able to form one single EU. We are still here. Over 50 states were able to form, more than 200 years ago, we were able to form the United States, with different states coming together to form that country that looks like that's as big as a continent. But here we have not been able to do it because the process that throws up the African leaders destroy the system. So we have strong men. The consequences, sometimes we have strong men. Most of the time in Africa, we don't have strong institutions. We have those who are mere stooges, sometimes even slavish to that slavish level to foreign powers. We have those who just come to loot, nothing else. just to loot, and a case of Mobutu Sese Seko is still there. Then we also have, apart from the political leader, we also have people who say they'll come to do interventions. For example, the military putsch that have happened, like the coups and the rest, and then they transform into dictators, where the civilian gap and continue want to be life presidents. The examples abound in Africa. People like Podia, Mama Gaddafi, Mobutu Sese Seko, a lot of them, they are still there. Yoweri Museveni in Uganda still wants to contest election when it can hardly work.
Even Paul Biya.
These are the problems.
But now let's talk about the people. The people, are they docile? Or don't you think that this is a very big threat to democracy in Africa, like Goodluck Jonathan is saying?
No, I think the biggest threat to democracy in Africa is the citizen docility and the lack of basic understanding of what governance is all about. So for many of Africans, they still live in that existential level. Okay, they live from hand to mouth. We still live as animals in the jungle. What you go as that is what you get. So you go to hunt. When you watch Nat Geo Wild, you see it. People go to hunt, and then you get food for the day for your family, and so it's still at a basic existential level. Okay, now we have not moved to a human level, a human society where we created that we said that because of our intellectual capacity, we're higher than the other animals. We have not reached that level because we still go there. So what the leaders do is to make sure they keep the citizens in that pedestal so that they don't move anywhere.
They don't think.
They don't think well. So what do? They weaponize poverty. They divide them across ethnic lines. They create religious blocking everybody, blockages, and make sure that at that primordial sentimental level, the people are kept there. Ethnicity. So I am from you are from my ethnic block. Oh, it's from my religion. Oh, so even when the person from your religion or from your ethnic block is doing the wrong thing, you still go to support the person because it belongs to, it's my pain, even if you are not getting anything. So we have not been able to build a society where the interest of the society comes first. So most of the individuals, the masses, are also lining up, praying to God, actually, for it to be their turn to loot. So that is the mindset. And when you go down to the ministries, to departments, agencies, even private firms and the rest, you start noticing that when somebody has a little power, the person just starts looting all kinds of things. A friend of mine was telling me in their company in Warri how somebody looted 300 and something liters of diesel. a gate man that was in charge of that. So that is the system. Then the docility, because of that kind of mindset, there's a docility that, oh, let him loot his turn. If we do it even in church, we have heard people say, oh, when you give money to God, in quotes, in church, and the pastor or priest uses it the way it's like, that is not your place to question him, that you leave it for him and God. So that is the kind of mindset we have that is so defeatist, so docile, yet we want good governance.
Let's not forget the concept of go to court. You hear this is now the latest saying from authorities. After an election, you'll be asked to go to court. Why? Because there are no consequences.
Well, in Nigeria, we witnessed consequences in elections way back, maybe like 15 years ago, 17 years ago, where when the governorship positions, the appeals were stopped at the Court of Appeal, there were consequences where people, governorship elections were upturned. People like Peter Obi actually went to the Supreme Court to get back his mandate because they even conducted an election when they were not supposed to. People like Rotimi Amechi, people like Adams Oshomole, Rauf Aregbesola, there's a lot of them that got their mandates through the courts in this country. So there was a time the system was believable, there was a time the system worked. But now, even lawyers, even members of the bar, members of the bench, someone like Professor Chido Dikalu does not hide his disdain for what is going on even in the court system. And what is happening in the political party seems to be crawling into all kinds of the facets of our, where there's what people call a judicial capture, seems to be like a judicial capture. And then there's this kind of nauseating perceptions where you line up judges they line them up and then you hand over car keys to them. So this is your SUV, or you hand over house keys to them. So reducing the judges, hallowed judges, to like beggars on the street, lining them up and giving them car keys. So there must be a system to make sure that our judges are not beggarly. That our judges, there's a constitutional provision for them that does not need to be approved or to be in the hands, to be in control of the executive or legislature. So there must be find a way to fund them independently. Otherwise, because we keep on going to court and nothing happens.
Well, time is not our friend, but let me go to Goodluck Jonathan in Ghana recently. He called for the voting out of leaders who does not perform. Is it possible? Can we vote out our leaders that are not doing well?
Well, the problem is that we don't even have a matrix to measure those who do well or not. And in the African situation, most Africans don't even know what indices to use to analyze their leaders, whether they did well or not. So the person will start saying, oh, this man built roads, this man commissioned boreholes, this man. So the Human Development Index is not even there. So we are not even measuring our leaders through the metrics of higher responsibility. So we are still measuring them with the mundane. So the biggest problem is not even those who do well. What is doing well in Africa? What does it mean? What does it translate to? Most of the time it translates to nothing. It translates to underperformance. And that is why when somebody builds road in Africa, we start clapping. That's why when somebody like our own governor, Peter Mbah, starts talking about some things, it looks very esoteric. It looks very abstract. People think it's not possible. I get to the point because we are used to that mundane, you know, and that is the metrics of, oh, somebody builds a road. You say, oh, this man is working well. Meanwhile, it is a given. And we are still talking about boreholes and fuel queues in 2025. So the one that's left us behind.
Yeah, now, can we rethink our democracy?
Well, there are big calls to rethink the democracy in Africa because I think that the parliamentary system served us better. I think one of the things we can immediately do is go back to parliamentary system. It's cheaper, it served us better, and they hold themselves more accountable in that system.
Thank you very much. Your saying is that we should go back to parliamentary system.
We should go back to parliamentary, so begin from it.
Dr. Ambrose Egboke, thanks for coming to Political
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Well, that's our show today. Please, God, you'll find time to join us again. On this note, I'd like to appreciate you for being part of Political Circle today. My name is Luke Mbo. Nigeria, we hail thee.